Welcome back to the Uncomfortable Truth podcast. Before I get into today's topic, what it feels like to be caught in an emotional storm, the kind where you start to lose your footing and you're working hard to reclaim your sense of self after being blindsided by someone else. I want to pause and say thank you. This is a brand new show. It's small right now, and I want it to grow because I want to go deeper into the everyday moments that knock us down or give us hope and remind us that we're not alone. Every time you share an episode, you're part of something bigger than either of us. So many of us want to make a difference. If something here resonates with you, moves you, or makes you feel a little less alone, and you pass it on to someone else, you're contributing to a ripple of support. So thank you for your time and your trust. We're just getting started. Now, on to the topic. So, if you're not sure what to do next in life, it can help to pay attention to how your body and your gut respond to people, situations, and choices. When something shifts, when a relationship or a plan suddenly feels different, that shift is information. It's not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's your nervous system doing exactly what it's supposed to do, noticing a change in safety, trust, or connection, and asking you to slow down and check in with yourself. Humans are wired to notice that when something that used to feel steady no longer does. So when you find out that someone you've been building a connection with and still have feelings for is now interested in someone else, of course, that registers as a jolt. It makes sense that your body would respond to that. Now, think about a time that may have shown up for you at work. Maybe you had feelings for a coworker and then found out that they were quietly seeing someone else on the team. Suddenly, being around either of them on a shared project feels uncomfortable. That discomfort isn't a character flaw. It's a completely understandable response to a change in trust and expectation. Now, what would it look like to build the self awareness to notice in a moment like that? Like, okay, something shifted and I'm disappointed. And that's a valid reaction? What if instead of judging yourself for the reaction, you gave yourself permission to feel it and then gently asked, what do I need right now? That kind of self compassion paired with curiosity is a skill. And like any skill, it can be built over time. Here's something worth holding on to. Whatever is hurting you right now is not evidence of what you deserve. It's information about fit, timing, or safety. People come and go in our lives, and that doesn't mean it won't hurt when someone leaves. Grief and disappointment are appropriate responses to loss, even the loss of something that hadn't fully become what you hoped it would be. This reminds me of a period in my own life when a lot of things weren't going the way I'd hoped. Looking back, I think that season taught me something important. Even when life is going well for us, staying connected to what struggle actually feels like keeps us grounded and able to show up for the people we care about. Now, I'm someone who's worked hard for the life that I have, and most days I don't struggle the way a lot of people I talk to do. I've come to believe that the hard seasons in my own life were there, in part, to keep me tethered to empathy, to remind me what it feels like to wake up and carry a heavy day. If you're someone who values growth, it's easy to notice that growth and comfort don't usually coexist. Doing the things that scare you, sitting with relationships or situations that bring up insecurity or fear, that's uncomfortable by design. The goal isn't to eliminate that discomfort. It's to stay resourced enough to move through it without it becoming overwhelming and to recognize a hard season as an opportunity to learn something about yourself rather than a verdict on your worth. Now, here's an image that might help. Imagine yourself standing at a crossroads. One path is lined with old, familiar thoughts, the ones that pile on evidence for why things always go wrong for you. And the other path is quieter, less familiar, but it's aligned with the person you're becoming and the life you actually want. Neither path erases the pain of the moment, but one of them keeps you stuck in an old story and the other opens up room for something new. So, what do you actually do when you're standing there? When you've just found out your ex is dating your friend, or the job or the program you wanted went to someone else, and the story your mind reaches for is, this always happens to me. Nobody's going to choose me. When is it going to be my turn? First, it helps to name that story for what it is. a familiar, well-worn narrative, not a fact. Then it can help to reconnect for what you know to be true for you. If it was your dream school and a friend got in instead of you, you can hold on to that belief that that version of that dream still belongs to you. It just might arrive on a different timeline. That's different from forcing yourself to pretend you didn't want it or performing indifference for validation. It's okay to grieve the loss of how you pictured things going and to also stay open to a different path getting you somewhere good. Now, some people might hear that and think it sounds self centered, but there's a difference between selfishness and healthy self regard. Knowing what you want and need and honoring that is not a character flaw. From there, you get to ask yourself, given that this happened, what do you want to do with it? And how can I take care of myself through this instead of letting it define me? One way to build the skill is to get really clear on what it feels like in your body when you're aligned with your values, your people, your direction, and what it feels like when you're not. That awareness usually shows up physically before it shows up as a thought, tension, a knot in your stomach, restlessness, a pull towards old coping patterns that you didn't know actually serve you. Noticing that friction early is useful information. It doesn't mean that something has gone wrong. It means that you have a chance to respond differently than you might have before, and to stay anchored to what actually matters to you instead of getting swept into old, unhelpful patterns. You don't have to choose between grieving and moving forward. Both can be true. You can cry, you can sit with the sadness, and you can also ask, what do I want to carry forward? Whether or not you choose the situation you're in, you still have agency in how you respond to it, and that agency is worth protecting. There's a phrase that gets repeated a lot. You can't love anyone until you love yourself. I think that phrasing can miss the mark. It's less about whether you love yourself and more about whether you believe you're worthy of the life you want, whether you believe that you have the capacity to go after it. For a lot of people, that's where the real work is, not in loving themselves in the abstract, but in believing they're allowed to want things and that they have what it takes to pursue them. Now, none of this is the whole picture. It's one piece of a much bigger process. But when you allow yourself to actually feel, process, and make meaning out of a painful experience, something shifts. Often, the depth of what you learn is connected to how hard the experience was. That's not an argument for seeking out pain. It's an observation that pain, when it happens, doesn't have to be wasted. If you're able to process a hard season as something you learned from, you build a kind of internal alarm system. The next time you find yourself near something that echoes that old pain, you notice it sooner. You get to choose. You could spend a long stretch of time in a familiar, painful pattern, isolating, comparing yourself to others, telling yourself the story is over. Or you can pause and say, I recognize this. I learned something last time and I get to choose differently now. Now, if you could go back and sit with yourself in that earlier hard moment, knowing what you know now, you'd probably make a different choice. A practical way to build that muscle: each day, do one small thing that gently stretches you outside your comfort zone. Each time you notice yourself slipping back into that old pattern, gently redirect, not by force, but by practice. That's how new patterns get built. Repetition, not willpower alone. It might be helpful to think of it as strengthening a muscle you haven't used much yet. Now, for a long time, I put others people's feelings and reactions ahead of my own needs. I made choices based on how others might respond rather than what I actually wanted. Learning to put myself first, not at other people's expense, but as a valid consideration, took years. Now, when I think about it, choosing what's familiar and other focused feels like left, and choosing what's aligned with my own needs feels like right. Usually, you already know somewhere in you what the right choice is for you. It's just that it can feel scary or disruptive to make because it might change how things look for the people around you. But over time, choosing yourself tends to create more room for good things to happen, not less. I've noticed this shift in myself over the last several months. The choices I'm able to make now and the confidence behind them look really different from where I was even a year ago. A lot of that comes down to practicing smaller, values aligned choices instead of defaulting to what's comfortable or what keeps the peace for everyone else. Here's a simple way to think about it. Left might look like seeking reassurance from someone who's shown that they're not emotionally available, staying in a pattern that's familiar but not good for you, or making choices based on what make other people comfortable. And right might look like small, values-based decisions where you can choose yourself, even in a minor way, instead of hanging around a place hoping someone notices you, calling a friend, or going to the library instead of checking someone's social media, going for a walk or to a class, instead of pouring your energy into a relationship or situation that's already ended, finding one small way each day to turn towards something new. Those small, repeated choices are how new patterns take root. Now, one more thing. I say this from experience. When we keep choosing the familiar, unhelpful pattern over and over, life has a way of eventually presenting us with a wake up call, sometimes a painful one, that makes the pattern impossible to ignore any longer. For me, that came in the form of a real loss, and it's what set me on the path of doing this deeper work. I don't say that to suggest pain is necessary or deserved. I say it because if you're noticing a pattern in your life right now, you don't have to wait for a crisis to start making small, different choices. You can start today in small ways, moving toward what feels expansive instead of what feels familiar but limiting. Now, here's one more tool. You've got the image of the crossroads, choosing between the left and the right. The idea, noticing what's aligned and what isn't. Left and right is the metaphor, and it's not political. So please don't read anything into that. There's just a way of visualizing two directions, the old pattern and the new one. So here's how you can tell the difference. Pay attention to how you feel in your body and your energy. When something asks you, how can I take care of myself here? Turn around what feels expansive, even a little. If a path is rooted in old pain or an old story, you'll likely notice yourself contracting, feeling smaller, more depleted, less like yourself. Now, if the path is aligned with where you're headed, even if it's unfamiliar or a little scary, it tends to feel different, more open, more like possibility. Paying attention to those physical and emotional cues over time helps you make the next right choice for you. That's really what this is about. You already carry a lot of wisdom about your own life, your own experiences. My hope is to help you access it, not hand you answers that aren't yours. Now, I want you to know I see the effort it takes to show up, to listen, and to try to apply this to your life. And I'm proud of you for that. That's why I'm here. I believe in the capacity people have to build a better life for themselves, one small, values aligned choice at a time. That's what the Uncomfortable Truth podcast is about. We're doing this together. If this episode gave you something useful, I'd be grateful if you shared it with someone who might need it. And if you subscribe to the show, thank you for being here. There's a lot more coming, and I'm glad you're along for it. Go make today a good one and make the next choice that's right for you.